Kicked off right at noon, so if you haven't already, please find your seats.
Test. Can you guys hear us in the back? I said, can you hear us in the back? Woo!
Everybody, buckle up. Let's have fun with the counter. I do thank everybody for being here and coming today. I'd like to thank Captain Hirams as well for letting us use their beautiful tipping room, waiving the rental fees for us again. They've been a great partner for us in the community. Appreciate everything they do and their great service team here. Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have to hit Facebook Live real quick, hold on. And Patty Sullivan was kind enough to lead us in the invocation. Thank you very much, Patty.
Thank you all for coming today. It's an honor to have you here today. Let's just pray together, shall we? Father, we thank you that your mercy endures forever, and that your plan and your purpose for us is a good plan and a good purpose. Lord, we pray for today, Lord, that you would just be with our candidates who have chosen to serve their communities. And Lord, we thank you for them. We just pray that you would grant them wisdom and guidance in the days ahead as we move forward. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to put things out on the table, to hear and know the thoughts that they may have about certain topics. And we just pray that we would all work together to build a better Sebastian, Lord, as we move forward. We pray for your blessing upon our food, our time, and we just ask for your kingdom to come and your will to be done. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much, Patty. And I will mention, I believe some candidates have put candidate petitions on the table. We always like to try and support anybody that's running for office. So if you have a moment and want to sign those, please feel free to do so. And we'll take a moment to recognize the elected officials and other candidates that are with us here today, aside from the Sebastian City Council candidates. And I apologize, I may have missed some folks that came in, but I know we have Sheriff Eric Flowers with us today. Thank you, Sheriff. I believe our tax collector is here with us today, Carol Jean Jordan. Thank you, Carol. And I believe Mayor of Fellsmere, Joel Tyson, may have made it in. Yep, thank you, Joel. I know we have a candidate for Indian River County Board of County Commissioners, District 2, Elizabeth Siebert, is with us today. Thank you, Elizabeth. And we have a candidate for Vero Beach City Council, Taylor Dingle, is with us today. I wouldn't be surprised if I missed any other candidates or elected officials that made it in. I think I got them all. All right. Appreciate y'all being here. A little bit about the format today. We will have all the candidates, will be allowed 2 minutes to make opening statements and remarks, and then a maximum of 2 minutes to answer a total of 6 questions if time allows. On that subject, I'll be giving arbitrary bonus points to any politician who can answer a question quickly and concisely, just so we can get through it. So you don't feel like you need to use a full 2 minutes if you don't need it to answer a question. And then we'll end with brief closing statements of about a minute for each candidate. So without further ado, it'll be my pleasure to introduce the candidates in the alphabetical order, and I'll ask that you all make your opening statements in that order. So with us today, we have Damian Gillums, we have Fred Jones, incumbent, Sherry Matthews, Bob McPartland, an incumbent, Christopher Nunn, an incumbent as well, and Clint Phipps. And Damian, please start us off with your 2-minute opening statement.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Damian Gilliams. Been a Sebastian resident for 29, going on 30 years. I love this city. It's always been my home. It'll always be my home, no matter how hard anybody tries to chase me out of it. I love this town. Can I get does everybody have a drink? Everybody good? There we go. I'd like to take a quick poll. How many of you have ever met me? I'd like to meet all of you. I really would. Like I said, I love this town. I love the community. Everybody that I know in this community, I love it. I graduated here in 2010 from Sebastian High School with honors. Went off to University of Florida to get a 5-year degree in computer engineering. From there, I went to Atlanta. I was a lead developer for State Farm. I've worked on a lot of big teams. I've solved a lot of big challenges. I'd like to put my skills to use in a community where I can solve the challenges that we're having. We have a $48 million budget this year. I want to make sure that we spend that on the citizens, not on the government officials. We have potholes, we have flooding, we've got all these problems in this community that we could solve with $48 million, definitely. So that's it. If you guys have any questions for me, my website, damosdesigns.com, it has my resume on there. It's not politically affiliated, it's just my resume for any job that I go out for. And my phone number is 772-713-1983. Happy to take a call from any of you. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And Fred, your opening statements, please.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fred Jones, and I've served on the Sebastian City Council for the past year. During that time, I have been actively involved in this city. Just about every single event that's happened in Sebastian, I have been there. I've working on some projects along the riverfront with Dr. Carrier, doing some oyster mats along there to protect our lagoon. My primary focus is to get our drainage situation under control, and the city is working on that right now. Number 2, the septic to sewer conversion, and we've got to make sure that we protect our lagoon, and that's one way that we can do that, by converting to a sanitary sewer system. I don't know what else to tell you guys but in the opening statement, but I work every single day for Sebastian, and I believe in our residents, and I believe in this city. My wife and I raised our kids here in this community, been here over 30 years, and I've seen Sebastian grow from nothing to where we are now. And we can keep Sebastian beautiful as long as you re-elect me to continue serving you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you for the taxpayers for putting this on. I'm Sherry Matthews. I've been in Indian River County for over 47 years. My husband was born and raised here, and I raised our children here. We are quite vested in the community. I have 35 years of serving the public and community service, and since I ran last year, I've continued to volunteer and to work for the city. I continue working with the city and doing things. I was on the Charter Review Committee. I applied for other committees and continue to get out there and do. I believe in transparency, and what I believe in the transparency is what is called proactive disclosure, and that is where in the government world you actually tell the people and tell the folks what you're doing with their money. It's very easy to spend somebody else's money, and when we pay attention to what we're doing, and which is my goal, and to be transparent with you to show you that what we're doing with your monies. Yes, this budget is $48.1 million this year. There's $11 million in grant money attached to that budget. So you're looking at about a $37 million taxpayer budget. So we need to make sure that we're spending that money wisely. There's a lot of things that need to be done, a lot of projects that need to be moved forward on that we've been kind of just sitting idle with. So I believe in transparency, I believe in smart spending, and I also believe in educated decisions. I also believe in you. We are in this together, and I am here to work for you. My motto is, the slogan that I use is putting people first with a servant's heart, and that's what I believe in. I believe in you, and it takes all of us to do this together.
Good afternoon. I'm Bob McPartlin. I've been serving on the City Council 9 out of the last 10 years. I was born in Brooklyn back in 1965. We got any Brooklyn people here? Probably not. Usually I have a friendly face in the crowd. My mother got me involved in serving when I was just a wee one, and then she made me join the Army. She called them, they came and got me, took me away.
I was in the Army's bomb squad, explosive ordnance disposal. So from 18 years old up until today, I've been assessing risk, and risk with money, risk with people. Because for the last 20 years, I've worked for the Department of Children and Families. I'm the Community Development Administrator, overseeing child abuse, adult abuse, and the food stamp Medicaid portion. I sit on several nonprofits that oversee millions of dollars. One of the initiatives I'm working with a lot of community stakeholders right now is getting a children's trust for Indian River County. That may not be in agreement with the Taxpayers Association, but I believe it will be a game changer for this county because I've seen how it's worked in Martin County as well as St. Lucie and Okeechobee counties. I sit on those Children's Services Council. Like I said, I've been on the Sebastian Council for 9 out of the last 10 years. And we just did a budget where we went to rollback. And the chief financial officer stated that the last 7 out of 10 years, our budget went to rollback or better. So I think I'm a great overseer of the money. I know a lot of the problems that exist throughout the community. I'm involved in a lot of other initiatives with drug abuse that's in our community. How can we do this? I work very closely with the sheriff as well as many of the chiefs of police throughout the community. So I would just appreciate your vote in November to serve another 2 years for the citizens of Sebastian. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Chris Nunn, and the beauty about government is we do a budget every year, and that budget shows everything we're going to spend money on that next year. Transparency is there as long as you're paying attention. The money is there in what we're going to spend that next $48 million on. There's no hidden agendas, there's no secrets, there's no surprises, there's no under-the-table dealings. Everything is there. If you have a question about it, please come to City Council meetings and talk to us. I started out, graduated from Westwood High School in Fort Pierce, and joined the Navy when I was 19 years old, spent 6 years in the Navy, got out, and tried to figure out what to do. I've lived in this area of my 51 years, probably right about 48 of those years in this area, about 25 of them here in Sebastian. I've been involved in Boy Scouts for about 15 years. I've been involved in rugby. I've been involved in other youth organizations here. I've always served this community in one way or the other. When it came time to fix our city, I would help to get that taken care of. And then the opportunity came to serve on City Council. I think over the past year, I've learned a lot. I have to tell you, I've learned a whole lot. There's a lot of people that think a lot of things happen in City Council that we have nothing to do with. We have power to make change as long as we have the people on staff to help make those changes come real. We do. We have an amazing city staff that helps take care of our city. Do we have issues? Sure. We have some drainage issues. We have some storm water issues. We do, and we're working on those. The purpose of our plan that we came up with this year, that $700,000 plan, is to help fix our drainage issues. It's a true master plan from A to Z and how to get there, the entire thing, and financing as well. So thank you. I hope you'll re-elect me to keep moving our city forward in a proper direction. We got a lot done. Thank you.
Hi and welcome. My name is Clint Phipps. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about me. I originally came from up north, moved down here. Up north, I owned an excavating company. My excavating company, my main source of income was doing drainage work. Drainage in terms of cesspools and also stormwater drainage. This is where my background is, 30 years of experience. So I want to apply this experience that I have with that down here in Sebastian. So what had happened was I watched a lot of what went on up north. There was I keep talking about the Forge River in Shirley. The Forge River became a dead river, which is completely contaminated with algae. That is because of the septic systems that they had up there when there was a population explosion. So coming down here, I saw these things starting to happen down here, so I want to prevent all of this from happening down here. I want to protect Sebastian and make sure that it doesn't get the same fate that happened up in where I came from. So I'm working hard at that. That's what I would like to do. Also, with the company that I had, there was a lot of bidding on jobs to get these jobs. And when I went to go get these jobs, there was two things in mind. You have to take in mind profit, so you're making money, and also at the same time giving your customers the best possible value. So they were making out as well. So these are the things that were important to me. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just a little bit more before we dive into the questions, I want to thank Andy and Tina Hodges with Sebastian Daly. And please keep an eye on Tina. She's got a time card and will be holding up and making sure if y'all are getting to a 30-second mark, and that she'll wave if you're going over time. But I will tell you, these questions have come directly from Sebastian citizens. Some reached out directly to me, some shared questions with Andy, then passed them on, but we have kept our normal format where I'm the only one that knows our ultimate list of the final questions that are chosen. Without further ado, we'll get right into it. And Fred, you'll be up first on this question, followed by Sherry, Bob, Chris, Clint, and Damien, and we'll keep working our way down the list like that. So, question 1. The Sebastian Charter Review Committee spent months working on changes that are part of a review process every 5 years. One resident would like to know your thoughts and comments on the proposed amendments, specifically number 4, provision for council suspension, number 2, requirement for candidate residency, and number 3, the right for the mayor to declare an emergency. And Andy Hodges prepared a good write-up on these amendments that I've shared with y'all on the table. You all have a copy of it. So, thank you, Fred.
Yeah, so my position on the charter amendments, I served on the previous charter review committee 5 years ago. I was the chairman of that committee. And I can tell you that the work that goes into deciding what the committee wants to send to the council, to go to the ballot, to send to our citizens, there's a lot of work that goes into that. I watched every single charter review meeting. I didn't go there personally. I watched them online, and I can tell you there was a lot of discussion that went on about these charter review amendments, and I support each and every one of them because those people on that committee are citizens of our community, and they decided to send those to us at the city council, and we approved them, and I'm happy to approve them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fred. And Sherry.
Okay, thank you. On the questions, I did serve on the charter committee, so a lot of this, what you're seeing and reading, are what the committee that we did go through and that we unanimously came up. Whether we all agreed or we did not agree, but it was a really great committee, really good people. We had a great conversation, great communication with it. We each were able to voice our opinions and to say why we agree or disagree with them. The charter, and what I'm asking you to do is, yes, I could give you, and yes, I could voice my opinion, and I could tell you, and you can go back and look of what I agreed with and what I did not agree with, or what we would push forward. But what I am asking you to do is that we need to educate ourselves. Go through here and look, and if you have a specific question, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll explain the question to you. I'll explain what we went and why it came to that, and what my opinion is on that. But it's up to you to educate yourself. It's up to you to read these. And unfortunately, what happens is on the state statute side of this, whenever you put something on a ballot, you're only allowed 75 words. So when you take something, example on the first one, if you read that first article that this one is amending, it's probably a half page long. So 75 words in trying to get what the message across is a little bit tough. So if you have a question, if you have a concern, or if you don't understand the way it's worded, please reach out. I'll be more than happy to explain it to you. I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it. But just understand that we did work hard on these. We spent 6 months working hard, and it was a great group of people that really showed their investment in this time and with this review.
Thank you, Sherry.
Jordan, just to clarify, you're talking 4-3-2?
4-2-3, yeah, or 4-3-2,
4-3-2.
whichever order you prefer.
Okay, whichever way to go down the list.
Yeah.
The Charter Review Committee, I served on it over 10 years ago. I was on it. It's a great committee. It's like you think of it's the Constitution for the city of Sebastian. And it's not an easy task. And you have a group that gets together and they go over everything. Sherry was there. I went to several of the meetings. And there's some old language in there. It talks about slaughterhouses, but you can't just strike slaughterhouse out of the old charter. It has to go out on the ballot. So that's, there's a lot that goes into it. Now, on number 4, it talks about the suspension, special hearing for a council member that gets arrested. That wasn't in there previously. And in the past, I think the governor would have stepped in for what happened in Sebastian over a year ago, but he had a lot of other stuff going on. COVID-19 he was stuck with that. Because I remember in St. Lucie, Port St. Lucie, he removed the council member until his court proceedings were done, as well as he removed a commissioner in St. Lucie Council until his criminal case was done, and then he got back on. As far as number 3, to declare an emergency, I guess that was the problem with the mayor declaring an emergency during COVID. Usually this was just when there was a hurricane. The mayor, he could declare an emergency. We could stop liquor sales, put in a curfew, because sometimes you hear, we've been devastated by storms. So that's why he has that. But I think because of COVID, that's why we're adding in, he does have this power. It's not like he's going to declare martial law, no liquor, and you have to go to church on Sunday, every Sunday, or things like that. I don't think it's abuse privilege. And then as far as number 2 was talking about council members, continuous residency. Right now, to qualify for an election, you had to have lived in Sebastian the previous year. This is just reiterating, because you could get elected and then not live there. You move out. So, it's important that they maintain residency throughout their entire term.
Thank you, Bob.
Good evening, afternoon. All right, so I as well watched all the Charter Review Committee meetings. The committee did an excellent job. I had people I know that were on the committee as well as people I didn't know, and they worked very well together to make sure the decisions were being made for the right decision and not knee-jerk reactions. Because it was possible. Some of the ideas that came up were knee-jerk reactions. We want to make sure we weren't putting things forth like that. So the committee worked very hard to make sure these were good, substantial changes that were better for the city. Let's go down those specifically. The idea to suspend a council member, it's not about one person. It's about protecting the city from a rogue person that could be on council, that could be violating the law, being arrested for it, and us, the city, protecting the citizens and the city itself from that person until they were found guilty or innocent. Simply and plainly. That we didn't have the power before, this is giving that power. Number 2, the mayor, to give him the right to declare a state of emergency. To me, that's common sense. The mayor should have that ability anyways. The other part of that question also is to remove the term limit of the vice mayor. All it's doing is making the vice mayor the same term limit as the mayor. Straightforward, easy, there's nothing fishy going on there. We're not getting rid of the vice mayor. The question on the ballot, unfortunately, says to remove the term vice mayor. It actually should say the term limit, but we're limited on how many words can be on the ballot. So it's there under that. As far as residency, I believe a council member should live here the time required before and during their entire term. Because how do you want somebody living somewhere else and having control over your city, not having a full investment in it? Simply and plainly. Thank you.
First, I would like to thank the committee for getting together and doing this work. I think it's perfectly great that the citizens of Sebastian are able to step in and basically, they can somewhat control the charter by making these new rules and regulations. I agree with all these new charter amendments. I think they're fantastic. Some of the things that pardon me, some of the things that perplex me is why weren't these in the charter earlier, such as being a citizen of Sebastian before and during your time as a council member. But I'm glad to see that was finally implemented and put into the charter. Another thing that perplexes me is why would it even be considered that somebody be a council member who has a record, whether it be a felon or but maybe a misdemeanor you can probably get away with, depending upon what it is, but as a felon, I don't see how that could even take place. So that should have been in there earlier as well. I do thank you.
So does everybody here know the 3 things that we're even talking about? Does everybody have one of these pieces of paper? Everybody's familiar? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read them through you, and I'll go one by one. I've never been on any campaign committee or charter committee, but I do know how to read. So number 2, require elected or appointed city council members maintain continuous residency and voter registration within the city. Shall section 202 of the City Sebastian Charter be amended? Pretty much, you got to stay in office. I think that 1 year, you should be here for multiple years before you can run for city council. And you shouldn't just be required to live in Sebastian while you're on council. You should want to be here for the rest of your life. Many years. You're not going anywhere. You don't run for council and leave the next year or leave while you're in office. What is that about? Number 3, add mayor has the power to declare an emergency and remove term of vice mayor language. I have no problem with that. The mayor should be able to declare an emergency. That's the person who's supposed to do it. But the mayor has the same power as everybody else on council. So it should be a vote of the council, not just the mayor. Because we should all be making that decision, not just one person who may or may not be biased. Number 4, you all know this one hits home. Special hearings for restoring a council member. You guys might not realize this, but this is America, and you're innocent until proven guilty. Just because charges come upon you, do not make you a guilty person. There are plenty of innocent people that have charges against them. My issue with this amendment, what is reasonable notice? What is reasonable notice? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you all. Sherry, you'll be up first on this next question, and then Bob, and continuing down that order. What is your view and standpoint on personal freedom? What philosophies will govern your decision-making process when issues related to personal freedoms may come before City Council?
I believe in personal freedoms, and I believe the Constitution was written for a reason, and that was to give us our freedoms and our liberties. And I do not believe at all in the government getting into our self-governing of our personal lives, of the way that we do things, what we believe in. It is not their place to mandate us into how we do things and how we live our lives. That is a personal choice, and it is up to you and each individual to make those personal choices. But I do believe in the Constitution and the liberties and the freedoms that go with it.
Thank you, Sherry.
This is interesting. You turn off on me, Jerry? Turn it off. 2 minutes for personal freedoms. I support everybody's personal freedoms. A lot of people turn around and say that Sebastian had a mask mandate. We never did a mask mandate. We strongly encourage the use of masks. That's not a mask mandate. If you wanted to come into the city of Sebastian and do business, you had to get a temperature check. You had to fill out the form, whether you were sick or were around somebody sick, and you had to wear a mask while you were in there. What if the city of Sebastian had an outbreak of COVID and the city shut down? Building department was wiped out. Police department was wiped out. Then you'd be worried. We were protecting our own employees. As far as coming to a meeting, we had a name that says, you're violating my freedoms, you're not allowing me to attend the meeting. All we required was a temperature check, and you wear a mask when you came in. When you were socially distanced sitting down, you could remove your mask. Is that too much to ask? I don't think it's too much to ask. Do I like to wear a mask? Heck no. I want it to be over. I believe in people's personal freedom. But if you have a business that says no shirt, no shoes, no admittance, if they put on there no mask, then it's no mask. I believe people, I came into this world naked. You should be able to walk around naked as long as you're not doing something lewd. Isn't that right, Sheriff Flowers? So that's the same thing. They have the nudist speech if you do that. So a lot of people were saying I was violating their personal freedoms. I would have given them more merit if they says, I want to attend your meeting naked without a mask. But I'm all for personal freedom.
Chris.
I promise never to walk around naked. Stands for something. The city council should never ever implement something that violates the U.S. Constitution. It's really that simple. And while things have changed, that doesn't mean the ideas of what the things, and there's where personal responsibility comes into effect. Personal choice and personal responsibility should go together. You know, I can tell you what you should do. I can recommend you should do something, but I don't have a right, in my opinion, to tell you you have to. Just my opinion. I think if I tell you to wear a mask, well, you have the choice, personal decision to make. Make the responsible one. Make what makes sense for you and your family. So as far as I'm concerned, the Constitution is the background for any decision we make. It's the Constitution. We should never do it.
I will stand by your freedoms. In America, we are free. We are free to choose to do many things. This goes as far as freedom of speech, right to bear arms, and I completely believe in those. Those are our God-given freedoms. There was just recently about the flag that was on someone's front yard, which kind of bothered me a little bit. I don't totally agree with some flags, but the flag came up as an issue at one of the council meetings, and I heard somebody say that maybe the Secret Service should be notified about the flag. I think that the flag is an expression of freedom of speech. It was not inciting any violence. It was just a gentleman speaking out about what he felt about what the present administration. So I think that that was probably a step over bounds, if you want my humble opinion. And I'll tell you what, I will stand with that gentleman who was flying that flag. I think that that was his right to fly the flag, and I agree with it. Thank you.
I'll keep this very quick. I believe in personal freedoms. I believe in the Constitution. I believe that mind your own business and don't do any harm to anybody else. If you have any motive to do any harm to anybody else, then I'm sure karma's going to catch up to you. But it's, we can all get along together in this community without having to. We shouldn't have to even have this question. Everybody get along. It's not that hard. Thank you.
I've been trying to stand up this time. I have a bad knee, so that's why I sat down before. But I believe in personal freedoms. When I joined the United States Marine Corps to serve and protect this country, I swore an oath to the Constitution. When I served my 31 years as a law enforcement officer in this community, I swore an oath to the Constitution of the state and the country. So I believe in personal freedom. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all. Next question, Bob, you'll be up first, followed by Chris, Clint, and then we'll work our way back. What council-appointed board positions have you been appointed to in Sebastian or in any other community? Do you frequently attend any of the board meetings, for example, planning and zoning, budget, parks and rec, etc.? There seems to be a lack of interest in Sebastian board positions. What would you do to bring new contributors with new ideas onto city boards?
Now let me get this straight. You're talking about ones that I've been on? Or
Yeah.
ones that the city has? Because you're talking planning and zoning. Because as part of my thing, I'm on the Indian River County Veterans Council by the city. I attend every monthly meeting. I'm also a United States Army veteran, and I've been on the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is planning the roads for the next 20 years and so forth. I've been on there for 9 years. I was the chairman for about 6 years, attended those meetings all the time. As far as the city boards, we have a very vibrant community. Yes, do we have some open positions for some of those boards? Our Planning and Zoning Commission, I think they're top notch. They are fantastic. All of those people, they review all the projects, make recommendations before it comes to the city council. Very, very great group. The Charter Review Committee, which serves every 5 years, they did an exceptional job. There was no lack of support for that. The Parks and Rec Committee, they're looking at all the parks throughout the city. What can be done? They're a great board. We're constantly promoting people to get involved. Now, what does it take people to get involved? I mean, this is the Taxpayers Association. You guys are very involved for that. Any Sebastian residents, look to get on a board. Contact me, 772-205-5490, or just Google me. Let me know you want to serve on a board. Well, I'll get you on a board. So I would like to see, I'd love to see the council packed every time. I was on there a number of years. It's the same 3 or 4 people that attend the meetings. I know a lot of people are watching online, but I like to see people in there. Because when I come to a meeting, I've read all my agenda. I've talked to the city staff. I've thought about everything. What could go wrong here? I'm looking to hear what my other council members have to say. Maybe they thought of something I did, or the public's input. Maybe they have an idea, a suggestion. And I'd love to see the public. If there's spitting venom, I love that. Thank you. You actually need a red, a green, and a yellow
I
card.
know.
Can you repeat that question?
What council-appointed board positions have you been appointed to in Sebastian or in any other community? And do you frequently attend any of the board meetings, planning and zoning, budget, parks and recs, any of the essential board meetings with the city? And again, there seems to be a lack of interest in some of the Sebastian board positions. So what might you do to bring new contributors with new ideas on the city boards?
All right, thank you. So the two boards that I've been appointed to while I'm on city council is the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee and the Tourism Board. Affordable Housing Advisory Committee works on trying to get affordable housing. If you paid attention or were watching the last night's meeting, we have a annexation coming for a small piece of property that will be for an apartment complex on 90th. I apologize, I don't know the address exactly, but I can find it out for you, which will be affordable housing. We need more affordable housing in this city. So to me, I love being on that committee to help with that prospect. As far as the tourism committee, we all know what that's about, tourism. So enjoy being on it, enjoy seeing what's going on. Now, as far as our city council, our city committees themselves, I try to watch as many meetings as I can. I can't go to meetings very often. I think I've probably been on council, maybe to 2 meetings in person, like the planning and zoning meetings mostly, to see what's going on, just high profile things going on. I kind of want to see how people are reacting to what is being said and such. We have a great group of people that serve in all of our committees. Anybody that, like Bob said, anybody that wants to serve on one of our committees, you don't have to serve on the committee to come to the committee meeting and be involved in the process. You can give public comment there just like you can at a city council meeting. So please, if you're interested in being involved in committees, we have lots of them that serve a lot of different concepts and parts of the city. So if y'all are interested, email me, call me, 772-321-6162. If you're interested, come find out my phone number afterwards. But all we can do is ask you, if you want to be involved, this is how to be involved. Facebook does not ever get you involved in what goes on in the city. So if you want to be involved, message, email, call, and we will help get you involved in the city.
Currently, I go to the council meetings, and I also watch the Zoom meetings of the other committees. So that's what I am currently doing. In the past, I have been part of Liquid Waste Association, as well as Suffolk County Young Republicans, and also the REC. That was in the past. So I'm a go-getter. I'm a motivator. I get people involved. That's what I do. I would encourage people to get involved with all committees. If they want to get on a board, I would back them in any possible way that I could do that. I spend a lot of time motivating people, so anybody out there who wants to be motivated, who wants to get involved, I can steer anybody in the right direction. You just have to contact me. It's easy to reach me, so yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Clint.
So I've never been on city council, and I've never been on any committee meetings, in any committees. But you may know my dad, and he's been involved in Sebastian politics for the entirety that he's been here, and so have I. I went to my first city council meeting in high school. I've been watching them regularly for 15 years now, easily. And I've always been active. He never stops talking about it, so I've always been abreast of what's going on here. I'd be happy to join some committees. And as far as getting the community involved, I think we should be doing more stuff like City Hall last year, where there was a lot of stuff going on, and then you had to get in line to get in the building. I think it was kind of really cool to see so many people trying to get in. And so I think we should be out and about in our community. We've got all these great venues. So thank you. Oh, real quick, I got an extra minute. I've never been on any city Sebastian committees, but I have been a technical liaison for a high school in Atlanta. I've volunteered at high schools and elementary schools, bringing virtual reality, augmented reality, and all sort of STEM education to students. I think education is very important, and I think that there's a lot that the community needs to get educated on. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
Okay, so the committees I serve on as appointed by our city council is I serve on the Economic Development Council for in River County. I also serve on the Beach and Shoreline Committee for the county. Here within the city, I watch just about every single board or committee meeting that we have. Even when I'm out of town, I turn on my, what they call it, iPad, and I actually watch it. Sometimes I put in there watching so people know that I'm actually watching. At one point, I started going to, when we had the integrated pest management meetings, I started going to them, and then I started getting people wanting to ask questions. So I'm like, I'll stay away because I don't want to get involved because that stuff comes to us. So I just started watching them online. Also, the Budget Advisory Review Committee, I've watched every single one of those because it helps prepare us when the budget comes to us. And the same with the Planning and Zoning. I watch those all the time because it definitely helps me to learn more when things come to us on the council. So I pay attention to everything that's going on in the city. I'm always active and watching. As far as getting people involved from our community on some of these boards that we're lacking, I don't know what to do except we advertise those. And I think one of the things that I'd like to push for is to recognize every single member of those committees, like give them a certificate or a plaque when they complete a task. And I think that would invite more people to attend. This is what I would like to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
Standard microphone.
We're having a little discussion about etiquette of microphone. I served on when I was still employed and still working. There's many state and local committees that I served on and continued and served on and had to be a part of. I also worked with over 400 nonprofit organizations throughout my term. I still work with some of the nonprofits. Over the last year, I've actually served on the charter committee and still continue to work with the city. And doing different things, volunteering for the city. I've attended budget meetings, planning and zoning meetings. I want to learn, the different things going on and how we are. One of the best things about campaigning is that I have met a lot of really great people, and I have met a lot of people that really want to participate in the city and participate in the actual workings of the city and learn about the city, but they didn't know how to go about it. On the Sebastian City website, there is always they'll announce when there's an opening or an application time coming up, and there's an application there you fill out. But just getting out and knowing people and again spreading out, and again, in my campaign, that's one of the things that I am working with or wanting to do is doing this together. This city is you, and without you, there is no city. So we need to work together. I want you to be a part of the city council. I have sat there for a year, and sometimes I'm the only one on the other side of the dais. And it's really sad because there's a lot of things going on in the city and a lot of things that when you're spending your money, you need to be abreast of what's going on. So my whole work in this is to be able to get out there, and in fact, yesterday I was talking to a group of people, and one of the questions came up was, how do we get on the committees? And we talked about that, and I'd love to see different faces and different ideas and different views on these committees.
Thank you, Sherry. And Christopher, you're up first on this next question. It's a long one. It came directly from a resident, so I thought it was a good one. I wanted to pick it. Per the American Rescue Plan Act, there are 5 primary ways that the recovery funds can be spent. Those can be spent to support public health response, address negative economic impacts, replace public sector revenue loss, pay for essential workers, and make investments into water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. Funds have been previously received and utilized as needed, and per a recent notification, there's remaining roughly $3.3 million, of which one half has been received and the second half will be received next year. All funds must be incurred or encumbered by December 31st, 2024. As of today, these funds have not been committed, nor has a spending plan been approved. Would you be in favor of spending all of these funds to help address the city's infrastructure problems? Many residents have complained about the state of the roads.
So, you know, we've already talked about it. We're going to have a workshop to discuss this with them. Now, workshops can be good as long as people come. So I guess my first encouragement would be when we start announcing these workshops, I'm going to share the heck out of it on Facebook and next door to make sure people know about it. Please, if you have ideas and thoughts of how we should spend that money, come tell us. Yes, I think infrastructure as far as the stormwater system would be a great place to spend a huge chunk of that money. Do we want to spend 100% of it? I don't know. Let's discuss and find out what everybody wants to do. That's why we have workshops. Please come to the workshops. You know, I'm going to talk back about the last question while I have a couple seconds. We had our budget meetings, readings, and hearing for our budget this year. We had approximately 3 people show up for those budget hearings. 3 people. Sheriff was one of them. 3 people, maybe. That's dismal. People want to talk about money, how we spend our money. Come to those meetings. That's where we discuss. That's where we talk about it. That's where we make decisions. That's where you ask the questions you want to ask. Why are we spending money on that piece of equipment? Why are we spending money on that? That's where you come and ask those questions. Not when everything's already been approved and the budget's in hand and moving forward with spending that money. So, with rescue plan money, yes, we're going to have workshops to discuss it. I think stormwater drainage is an excellent idea for how we should spend a huge chunk of that money. Do I know if we want to spend 100%? I don't know yet. But when you all hopefully talk to us, we'll find the answer out to that question.
Yeah, this is a great question. What to do with the money we're getting? The workshop is a great idea, so this way the citizens of Sebastian can put an input into where the money is going. But I think some of the money should be given to some of the city workers who lost money during the pandemic in time of sick time and personal time that they may have lost because of the pandemic. I think that that would be a good thing. Also, with the stormwater, I think that that would be, my personal pick would be directly to put the money towards that. Because we're having a big issue with that in Sebastian, and I see that in a lot of places where the water is building up. As a matter of fact, last night at the city council meeting, there was discussion of, one guy came up and he said that he had 2 new houses built next to him, and now he's getting a lot of flood water in his front yard. And basically, he was going to be issued a summons if he didn't get this water clean or the problem cleaned up. And I think that that is throwing the responsibility into the citizen's lap when it's not his fault that this is happening. So yeah, it makes it very important that we get the stormwater fixed right away. That's my humble opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Clint.
Stormwater is clearly an issue in our community. Our roads flood all around the community. Residential, up and down US 1, Main Street is a big one. I would like to put money towards stormwater, but we've been putting money towards stormwater research since 1996. I think we've got about 12 different master plans that we've made, and it's 2021, it's still flooding. I'd like to put the money towards fixing our roads, but if you don't fix the stormwater, you're going to fix the roads, and then the stormwater is going to come in, and it's going to erode the roads, and you're going to have the same problems over and over again. So I don't think it's an issue of how we spend this exact $3 million. I think it's an issue of how we're spending all of our money, because it all gets affected together. And specifically, this $3 million, I'd like to see it go towards our parks, our boat docks, all of the public facilities that the community actually uses. That's where it needs to go. It's the community's money.
When it comes to the rescue plan money, my personal belief, because I am all about our stormwater conveyance system. We have problems in this city. We all understand that. So my personal opinion is that we put some of that money obviously towards that, and also our septic to sewer conversion. But the biggest key to this is that when we have our workshops, we need citizens to come out to tell us what they think, where we should put that money. Without that, the decisions that we make, I don't know what they're going to be. We need the public input in order to make an informed decision for all of our residents here in Sebastian. Thank you.
on this CARES money, on the rescue money, what I believe in is that I'm excited about the workshops because there is money to be dispersed and to take care of things. My biggest concern with this rescue money is there are a lot of rules that come with federal money. We all know that money is not free. I don't care how they tell you, I don't care what they say, it's not free. So with that, we have to be very careful in how we spend it, because once we do not spend it according to what the federal guidelines and rules tell you to, it goes from being a grant to a debt, which means the city of Sebastian now has to pay it back. So we need to be very cautious in how we spend this money. So what I'm excited about is to see where we can put this money. The other part of this and the stipulations is a lot of this money can only be spent, especially on the outlay side, of budgeted items that were put in a budget, an approved budget, on or before March of 21. So then you're in a situation where you can't spend it on outlay items after this budget. So this 21-22 budget, we may not be able to spend it on items in that based on the rules and the regulations of the federal money that they've given us. So there are a lot of stipulations. I look forward to the workshops when they get them scheduled and get proposed. I hope to see as many community residents as we possibly can. I do believe there are things in the community that we need to work on, that we need to address. I would love to see stormwater being a part of that. I would love to see some of the things along the lagoon, some of the items there, and other things that need to be looked at to be addressed. But we do have to be careful, because we do need to make sure that when you're following those guidelines, that we keep it as a grant and does not become a debt to the residents or taxpayers of Sebastian.
I'm looking forward to the workshop. I wanted a workshop a while ago. And yes, we need to do the stormwater and infrastructure that's out there, but I want an actual plan. I'll tell you one thing that I've been thinking about, and I've been researching and seeing how much it actually costs. It's called a population advocate for the community. And what that person can do, depending on your community, if drugs are a problem in an area, that advocate, after the police respond, would follow up with that person. If they're ready for treatment, they're a subject matter expert and can get that person right into treatment right then and there. If they're a victim of domestic violence, that person would be right out there working with them. If they need to leave this abusive situation, we just had a horrible murder here in Sebastian. If they were saying, I'm sure the police had been to that house before. If we had this population advocate, they could work with them about being safe, letting your neighbors know, you put a light on or the light's off, they know something's going on there. But I'm looking for that. They can work with the juveniles. We have a fantastic community policing force here in Sebastian, as well as the sheriff's office. Phenomenal. But I think this population advocate, and again, it would only cost $65,000 a year. I've looked into it. So when you come with, I want the money spent on the lagoon. Okay, specifically, what do you want spent? How much is it going to cost? What will be the results? That's what I really am looking forward to, and spending the money efficiently and effectively. But my idea of the population advocate, that can work especially with seniors. If there's a problem with seniors, we got a lot of seniors here that are all alone. They have nobody, and they struggle. This person can assist them, get them connected to the adult daycare, to our senior center, to other seniors to rely on. And I think it would be a cost savings for the police department. We got a lot of people with mental health problems. Police are responding at boom, 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 boom. This population advocate takes care of it. Guess what? The police got more time to respond to a whole lot of other issues.
Thank you very much. Clint, you'll be up first on this next question, and we'll circle back to Damien and work our way down the table. As another one that comes directly from a Sebastian City resident. Why was it necessary to pay for another stormwater management plan in 2021 when there was a plan developed in 2018? What recommendations of the 2018 plan were implemented? And what was the extra $1 million a year that was generated by doubling the stormwater management fees in 2018 spent on? What do you plan to do differently to address stormwater and the drainage problems in Sebastian?
That was one of the exact things I was thinking when I heard about the new plan that was coming out, $1 million spent on a plan that we already had a plan for, which I don't completely understand myself. We've been talking about stormwater drainage for, I don't even know how long now, right? Since forever, and nothing really has been done. Why hasn't it been done? I'll tell you why. I think that a lot of the building has a lot to do with it. There's been a lot of building without thinking about what's going to be happening in the future. Okay, so we'll put up a few houses here, we'll put up a few houses there, and we'll worry about where the stormwater is going to go later on when we have a problem with it. And I don't think that problem has been addressed. I think that, all right, yeah, sure, we have to start over fresh at this point, because we're in a situation now where it's kind of like reaching a precipice, we could say, where the stormwater, it's getting worse, but really none of the plans have been implemented whatsoever. There's been talk about them, but nothing's been done. And I want to make sure this gets done. And with my area of expertise, where I came from with my business, this is what I did for a living. 30 years of working with stormwater, sewage, cesspool water, anything you want to call it. This is my experience. So I can make sure that all of this starts getting implemented and it can be done. So I want to stay on top of this. That's what I'm going to do. And I will accept any feedback from anybody who's got anything to say. You got problems, you talk to me. We'll get this straightened out. It has to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Clint.
I am not a stormwater engineer. I am a software engineer. I'm very good with numbers and analytics and digital reports. I think that somebody needs to do some investigative reporting, perhaps, on what companies are doing these reports year after year after year. $700,000 is a lot of money. We shouldn't be sneezing at that. Every couple of years we're doing a new plan. It sounds like somebody's got their hand in the pot. Doesn't sound right to me. 20 years, we're still flooding. Why don't we just do another report every year? We got the money for it, right? 48 million. Thank you.
Well, I can tell you one thing from my knowledge sitting on the council, and hasn't been very long a year, but stormwater in our community is very important to me. And what I've learned is that the plans that we had before were just that. They were maintenance plans. They were not a true stormwater master plan. Those plans just dealt with maintenance of whatever came up. They didn't take into consideration the elevation here, a property that's 2 feet above here, and another one that's 2 feet below that one, and the other side there's an additional 2 feet above. So they didn't take into consideration all that. This new stormwater master plan will address exactly those situations, where the water flows, where it's not supposed to flow, and that's how we're going to end up taking care of that. That plan was implemented way before I came on the council and before our new city manager. And I can tell you our new city manager is definitely working on making sure that we get the flow and the drainage that we need within the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
Okay, this was a question that was asked before, and you'll see my answers on the IRNA CWC, Clean Water Coalition, CWC. I did go back and look at some of these things, and this is my concern. We actually are doing another $700,000 master plan. This is a supposed master plan. Okay, in 1996, they came back in and said, we have so much flooding, let's do a master plan. So in 1996, they did a master plan. In 2004, they did an update to the master plan. In 2013, they did an update to the master plan. And then in 2018, they did an update to the master plan. Now, if you look at these updates are pretty extensive. And they are, they're 50, 60 page reports. They're not something just on, not a run by, but they are pretty extensive reports. So my question is why are we doing another $700,000 master plan? I understand it's a plan this time and not an update. However, in the 2018 report, they go on to talk about the different things and what needs to be done, and they actually gave a 22-line itemized list of what needed to be done and what their recommendations were at $24.5 million. So I reached out to the city because I wanted to know what had been started, what was continuing to be worked on, and what had been finished. Now this is a 25-year plus ongoing problem. Their answers to me were, on the 22 line items, 2 had been completed, 2 had been started, were halfway and stopped, and 1 line item, they were waiting on an $11 million grant. That's 5 line items. The remaining 17 has the word future next to it. So my concern now is, what is the date of future? We have been 25 plus years, and the common verbiage used in every one of these plans.
Thank you, Sherry. We're 2 minutes.
Okay, sorry. Real quick. The common verbiage is that the city has to accept responsibility. So my concern is, what is the date of the future, and when are we going to move forward? Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Bob.
I want to read the question again. It's like the telephone game. By
Oh,
the time
yeah.
it gets back to you, it goes all the way around. You know, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Why was it necessary to pay for another stormwater management plan in 2021 when there was a plan developed in 2018? What recommendations of the 2018 plan were implemented? And what was the extra $1 million a year that was generated by doubling stormwater management fees in 2018 spent on? What do you plan to do differently to address stormwater and drainage problem in Sebastian?
Thank you. As was mentioned, the previous plans were like maintenance plans. We'll put a little Band-Aid on this situation. This, I had a lot of questions about spending this money. I said, what is this plan? And they told me it's going to have the elevation. Everything is going to be lined up. And then there's going to be the recommendations. We got to do this year 1 through year 10. And that's going to cost a lot of money. And the people who are paying to do this plan are also going to work with us on getting grant money. Because I asked in the meeting when I voted for that amount of money, and again, there was 3 people in the audience, unfortunately, when the city's spending $700,000. I said, what can you tell me? What is the grant percentage going to be? We put in 25%, we can get 75%. They can't give you a number on that. So when I voted to do this plan, I said, it's going to cost a lot of money. And you have to implement the plan. You can't pick and choose and say, oh, year 3 is cheaper. What we had in mind, we'll do year 3. No, you have to do year 1, and you can't move forward until year 1 is done. So you have to pay for that portion, get the grant money, and I said, I want to make sure it's done. Drainage has been a problem in Sebastian. I've been here over 20 years. I know that. But it's not as bad as it once was. I knew we used to get 3 inches of rain, and when I drive down Rolling Hill Road, I would look how high the water was up on the mailboxes and know whether my van could make it through and I might rock like a boat. We're not at that point. There are some areas that are bad. We are looking at those, but we can't fix them right now. We're looking at this total plan because we could fix that, but then you might have to come back and redo it. So that's the reason for that.
All right, well, I'm not going to re-talk about everything Bob just talked about because it wouldn't make sense. So this is the first time we've done a front-to-back complete plan. We've never done one. We've done lots of maintenance plans, like they said. This actually tells us how to fix each and every one. I mean, our canals and our ditches behind our houses. It helps with the elevation of all of those as well. This plan is an extensive, true master plan with a lost my train of thought. With a plan of how to get from how we get these streets fixed, how we get these streets fixed, how we get these streets fixed, and also includes the financial way for them to help us get it taken care of. So it's not just a list of some things to take care of. It's like Bob said, it's get this done, here's what you do first, here's what you do next, here's what you do next, and it's a plan that gets you all the way through it. It's not just something like before the maintenance. I asked a lot of about this. I actually talked about this a little bit last night as well during the council meeting. It's important to know we would have never ever $7,000 for something unless it really would help take care of the problem. As far as drainage in the city, most of our roads are clear within 6. The longest right now, we still have a few that are still holding onto water. We have swales that are holding onto water. Swales aren't really designed to take all water away. They're designed to take the excess water away and let some water sink back into the aquifers. But I lived on Rolling Hill and County Lane for 6 years, and 4 months when I had water in my swale a foot deep. So I understand, 6 months, sorry. I understand how frustration it is. I had a mosquito pond in front of me. This is the right plan for us to do. As far as the fees, it was for maintenance. We needed to fix the problems we had, and we needed more money to fix it. Thank you.
Christopher. All right, we've got one more question, and then we'll move on to very brief closing statements. Damon, you're up first on this one. What would you do to improve city code compliance? Do you favor code enforcement being handled by the police department or separate city staff? Please explain your position.
You know, this one's very personal to me. I know the code enforcement officers pretty well. They like to come by all the time. I think that they should keep their jobs. I like Kurt. He's great. I think that there's some very selective code enforcement going on in the city of Sebastian, and I think that needs to be handled. But I think code enforcement should stay with the police department. I don't think we need to hire any more people in the city to handle code enforcement. I mean, I don't really think there's that much that needs to be enforced. And yeah, I don't think we need to be wasting our money on more code enforcement officers. Everybody just get along, stop putting crazy stuff in your yards, mow your lawn, you know, be a community.
No problem. What would you do to improve city code compliance? Do you favor code enforcement being handled by the police department or separate city staff? And please explain your thoughts.
No, I think the code enforcement should stay right where it is under the police department. And I think they're doing, trust me, I think they're doing a great job. Are there some issues from time to time, whether you're in code enforcement or any other part of the city? Absolutely. But it's a matter of speaking to people the right way and not just shoving the laws down their throat. Like sometimes I've heard citizens complain to me about how they were spoken to by code enforcement. Those complaints were sent directly to the city manager to handle. We don't do that directly. The city manager handles the employees of the city. And I can assure you that those issues were addressed and will continue to be addressed. But our code enforcement does a great job, and I think they deserve to stay right where they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
Okay, I have a couple of issues with the code enforcement. And it's not the code enforcement themselves. I think the code enforcement does a really wonderful job in what they're doing and what their design is. One, we are working right now with more population and less code enforcement officers. We have had, for years, we had 3 code enforcement officers with half the population. We've been at 2 code enforcement officers with double the population for years, and that's an issue with me, that they need more help. The other thing is that why are we not using community development, and why are we not using the building department as part of the code enforcement? Because that's who they work for, is just as much as the police department and what they're doing when they can have a call for the police department. My concern with them being the way they are, I don't have a problem with them being in the police department. I have a problem with the way that we send them out. We are sending out people that are not trained in the police department in big letters down the side. And that is a safety issue for me, because we're sending somebody to a home with a negative content. They're not going there to say, hey, I just wanted to stop by and say your grass looks nice and have a good day. We're sending them there because somebody has complained. So they're always being set up to be in a situation. So there are things that I think that need to be readdressed with code enforcement. The biggest one I believe that they need more help. The other thing is that why, because they are working with the building department and the community development just as much as they are with police, call-ins on the police side, that why are we not utilizing those 2 sections as part of their salaries as well? So there's things that we can do to rectify, and I am again about their safety, and I don't think that we're putting them in a safe position.
Code enforcement. We probably do need an additional guy with all the building that has been going on. They do a fantastic job. I think they should stay under the police department, because they do kind of, even though they don't carry any arms, they do present well. I think there probably is a little bit more training that they should undergo if they come across a situation. I was an investigator for many years. I had to talk my way out of a lot of things, but I was always good at it. They do a fantastic job, and it's always trouble because, yes, somebody did call on them and they're going out. What I've heard lately, and I want to make sure it gets addressed, is sometimes also you need to stay in your lane. If he's there for code enforcement, discuss the code enforcement issue. But sometimes, I'm hearing from people, well, they said this about the storm. Stay in your lane. You're there for code enforcement, and that's it. And of course, top-notch customer service. And if anybody has any problem with any city staff, they should contact me, and I'll make sure it gets addressed. But for overall, I can tell you, the city employees are fantastic from everybody. The guys who pick up the trash, the guys who do the stormwater, and obviously our police department do a fantastic job.
Code enforcement means a lot of different things to different people. In California, where my father-in-law lives, he was a senior code enforcement officer for Riverside County. They carried a gun and they broke up drug houses as well. So code enforcement means many different things. So we have a lot of new people to our area. They're not really sure what code enforcement does here. Code enforcement here is mostly reactive, not proactive, mostly reactive. 90% of the time, they're there because somebody complained. They're not there because they saw a problem. Now, to me, I think that's a little bit of a problem. I think we should be more proactive, but I think it goes down to what we've discussed already. They probably need more employees to be more proactive, because I don't know if you drive around the city, I don't know if they've got time to write a violation for every single violation they might see looking at every single house. So maybe adding an employee to that would help with that. Being a good citizen and a good steward to your city and not having code violations is a good first start. As far as it goes, I know there's some challenges with swales and things and what people think they are responsible for and not responsible for. And that's where one came up the other night where they said they kind of threatened them with $250 a day fine if they didn't take care of it. Well, that's ridiculous. It takes a while to get to that point. But I agree with Bob. If you know somebody or anybody listening or watching today and you're having a problem with a city employee, what I would ask you to do first is call the city manager and talk to him. If you call the city manager and talk to him and you don't feel like your situation was resolved, feel free to email me or call me. Let him do his job first. If he can't do his job, then bring it to us and we'll go and take care of it. If you want to email me directly or talk to me directly, that's fine. But he's there to do a job. Let him run the city and do what he does. Thank you.
So I'm going to guess that many people moved here to Sebastian because of how beautiful it is. It's a beautiful place, that's for sure. And me driving around, I don't see a lot of people with a lot of violations. So keeping the code enforcement with the police is a great idea. These guys probably aren't really busy writing a lot of summonses, I would assume, because it seems like everybody is, wanting to keep this city looking beautiful, so they're not violating a lot of codes. There's probably, minutia out there, for codes, but for the most part, I don't see it being a big issue. I like the way the code enforcement is set up now with the police. Having 2 right now is perfectly fine. I don't see that as being an issue. That is as perfectly fine. Hiring more, I don't see that we should have to hire more because our city is perfect the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you all. And we'll move on to closing statements. Fred, you'll be up first, followed by Sherry. And let's keep them brief to about 1.5 minutes or less. Thank you.
Well, usually I am very brief. So anyway, I'd just like to say that we, Sebastian, are a team. Everything that I do every day is for our team, Sebastian. Let's keep Sebastian beautiful. Vote re-elect Fred Jones for City Council this November 2nd. Thank you.
Again, I want to thank everybody for coming out and hearing all the different views and the questions that they've submitted from the residents. It's actually refreshing knowing that the citizens took the time to do this because, again, this is one of the biggest things that I am about is working with people, that you need to be a part. We're in this together, that we do this together. I am by no means an expert on a lot of these things, but I do know that there's a lot of experts, a lot of residents, business holders, stakeholders in the community that we can rely on to make our city beautiful and work in a good flowing manner. I do want to thank you again, and I look forward to November 2nd. Get out and vote. Get your make sure that you do count. Get your vote out there to count. When you are voting, I'd like you to consider me in casting your vote and Sherry Matthews November 2nd. Thank you.
Well, Jordan, thank you for holding this event. It's great. I'm glad we had a packed house. Some people had to go back to work, unfortunately, like me. so I'm just waiting. So I'll be brief too. I've been living in this community over 20 years. I've been involved in this community over 20 years. Started out as a coach, working with the department, and then serving on the city council. I'm involved in a lot of efforts out there. The Treasure Coast Homeless Services Council, poverty issues, the Children's Trust, the Indian River Children's Services Advisory Committee, on and on and on. I love this community. I've been on council 9 in the last 10 years. I tell people, Google me, look at my record, look at where I've been, look at what I've done. I'm very proud of that record. And like I tell a lot of people, and I guess it's an old Mayor Koch line, if you agree with me 7 out of 10 times, vote for me. If you agree with me 10 out of 10 times, go see a mental health professional. And I heard Ronald Reagan, because I used to protect him when I was in the Army, worked with the Secret Service, taking apart bombs. And he said, there's 80% of the stuff that we all agree on anyways. So let's get that 80% done. The other 20%, we can continue to debate, and we might come forward with a resolution. So in November, I'd like you, please, vote for Bob McPartland, and I will do my best to continue with this city. Thank you.
I want to say thank you to build a good work portfolio. I've worked really hard with people. I've researched all the issues. I've spent a lot of time at City Hall, a lot of time talking to city employees and city manager about what's going on, what's in these agendas, what are we doing this for, what are we doing that for. I realized early, about a few months ago, I said, maybe I'm not asking enough questions on the dais. When I'm asking all those questions, I need to ask them on the dais because I forget. Some of those other people might have that same question and want to know why I'm not asking that question. So I worked really hard a couple months ago to start asking all those questions that I'm asking when I'm talking to the city manager on the dais. So people hear those questions being asked so they can say, oh, I was wondering that. I spent a lot of time. I think I've done a good job. I think I've kept all my promises. I didn't make a lot except to do a good job and to represent the people. If you have a concern, call me on November 2nd. If you could please consider voting for me. As far as the 8 amendments go, I recommend all 3. I mean all 8. Sorry about that. That was a Freudian slip. I recommend all 8. So please consider saying yes to all 8. We would not have put them forward if we didn't have belief that they were the right thing to do.
Thank you all for coming out. It's amazing to see all the smiling faces. I do appreciate this opportunity to throw my hat in the ring to represent the citizens of Sebastian. With that, I bring my knowledge, my experience, my dedication, and everything that I know to the table to help out Sebastian. I can go through my resume. My resume is a mile long of the experience that I have, the things that I've done in my life, who I've been involved with, but I don't want to do that. Basically, what I want to do is I want to represent you guys here in Sebastian to make sure that Sebastian stays beautiful like it is. I do appreciate this opportunity. Thank you all.
I really want to thank all you guys for being here today. In the middle of a work week, lunch hour, I really do appreciate you all coming to listen to what we have to say and why we feel the way we feel about our community. Like I said, I was born and raised here. I'm not going anywhere. I don't have any motivations besides making sure that my grandchildren get to enjoy the same beautiful upbringing that I had when I grew up here. When I grew up, we would have chicken dinner one night, and we'd throw the bones in the crab trap, and we'd pull out crabs the next night. And you don't have that anymore. And this was the deadliest year for manatees on the Treasure Coast in Florida history. Florida history. I want to protect this lagoon. I want to protect our community. I legitimately care. I like taking my boat out. I like having a place to park my trailer when I go out and I have to park it on US 1. I'm not against annexation. I'm against doing it incorrectly and not providing the amenities that we need. I know that a lot of you look at me and think that this is a joke, that I'm up here just for fun, that I don't really care about this community, but I really, really do. And I think that I would do a really good job if I were to get elected. I'm #1 on the ballot. I hope that I'm #1 in some of your hearts today after getting to know me a little bit better. Please, by all means, if you see me out in the community, come say hello. I'm not as scary as they make me look, Come say hello. And once again, I don't have a political website. I was trying to do the cheapest campaign in Sebastian history. I haven't accepted any donations, and I haven't spent any money. So you can check out my resume. It's, like I said, the same resume that I would give to any job application, damosdesigns.com/resume, and my phone number is 772-713-1983. And like I said, the best way to talk to me is just come say hi. Thank you. And thank you for hosting.
Yeah. And I want to thank all the candidates for your service to the city, your interest in serving the city. Thank everyone who's come out today, everyone who submitted questions. And if you're showing up here, everybody tuning in online, appreciate it. Look forward to having you guys back at the Vero Beach Country Club for our usual, going back to our normal routine, second Wednesday of the month in November. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.